Hey everybody, this is Lynn Bunn coming to you from my basement again. A few of you have asked me how I make these backgrounds. This one is not the one that I think people would ask about the most, but I already sent that card out, so I don't have it here. But if you went back and searched for my name on our group, you would find that particular card. And so I had to kind of redo it today to remind myself how I did it, because apparently senility is kicking in at my age. Anyway, that's really not a laughing matter, but sometimes you just have to laugh at yourself, because I can't remember how I did it. But anyway, so I figured it out again, and I just thought I'd take 10 or 15 minutes here and show you what I did. And we're going to try to make one that looks similar to this, because I think this one probably looks the most like the one that people had asked about. And so what we'll need for this project is some watercolor paper. I'm just going to do one, but I cut up one whole sheet of watercolor paper here. So these are 4.5 by 6, I believe, and that gives me a little extra room to hold on to things and to move it around and to cut it down. I prefer, somebody asked me what do I like, I prefer over all watercolor papers, my very favorite is Canson watercolor paper. It's 140 pounds. Generally at Joann's you can get it for 50% off if you just watch or wait for a coupon for 60% off. When it's on sale, I usually buy several packs of it because I like to watercolor and I just love this paper. The other things that you're going to need, you don't have to, but this is how I do them, are some distress oxides. So the colors that I've got today for this card are Twisted Citron, Pickled Raspberry, Wilted Violet, and Mermaid Lagoon. And then also have a distress, again, you don't have to do this. This is what I'm going to do on this card. Distress spray stains that will blend with those colors. So the only blue I had was Salty Ocean, so I'm going to put it with the Mermaid. I have Seedless Preserves for my Wilted Violet. I have Pickled Raspberry for Pickled Raspberry, and I don't have the Twisted Citron yet, but it should be coming any day now. And I'm using mustard seed with my Twisted Citron. The other things you'll need will be some black and white craft paint. You will need a black ink pad and some, some stamps. These all happen to be Tim Holtz. Well, I take that back. This is a Dina Wakley stamp that I'm going to use on it. It comes from, let's see if I can find the name of it. Yeah, here it is. It comes from a stamp set called Text and Scribbles. And then I'm also using a Stampers Anonymous or Tim Holtz one called Faded Type, and I'm going to use several stamps off of that. So that's what you need the black ink for. You'll need a stencil of a sort, and I prefer a stencil that does not, I'm going to use white paint on this, and I don't want tons of white on there. I just want a little bit. That's why I like this particular one. I don't know the name on it. But it just, you'll see what I'm talking about, because I've used some bigger ones. Like this one is a floral one that I got, and it's just, you can see it's really big. But if you look at the one that we just did, or I just finished, you can see where I put some of the filigree or whatever that is on there, but it's not real obtrusive. It's just a little bit on there. So that's why I like that kind for this project better. But some people might like the bigger one. I don't know. This, again, I was just trying to figure out, how did I do that? So let's get started. Oh, and two other things you'll need, if you could have them, are some paintbrushes. Now this is a, I don't know what they call this, like a rubber paintbrush. It doesn't really have bristles on it. I like to use it, or like a wide flat paintbrush would work also. That's toward the end, we'll use that. So let me get started. What I do is, which is typical, it's my starting point on a lot of things. I'm just going to put down some distress oxides. I'm sorry I'm shaking the table as I go, but my tell, I'm not a professional, y'all, obviously. I don't do fancy videos, I just do me. So things are gonna jiggle and wiggle a little bit here. I'm just gonna put down some colors that I like. And you can never go wrong with Twisted Citron, as I've said before. Okay, and then I'm going to, another thing you'll need is a mister bottle. So I'm gonna mist this a little bit with water, and then I'm gonna take my watercolor paper, and I prefer the most textured side, and I'm just gonna put it in here and do some ink smushing, smush it around a little bit, and it needs a little bit more water. Try to put it back in the same spots here. And I don't want to cover it all up. I don't want to get all the white to be covered. I'm just trying to get some spots on there. And sometimes you might need to put just a little water to your paper. And again, I want to keep some white on there. So that's all I'm going to do on that one. Let me heat set it real quick before it runs all over. Now normally I would put another piece of watercolor paper in this and soak that up. Today I'm not going to do that. I should have just made one of these up and had it drying already. Give me just 1 minute. I don't have any funny stories to tell you today. It's kind of a sad day, all this stuff going on in Ukraine. I saw today that over 137 people in Ukraine are already dead, so it's kind of a sad day. It's not really a good day for joking around. But anyway, so now I've got that up, and it's pretty well dried. Now, I could add more color to this with my Distress Oxides, but what I find is that when you, again, I think I've said it before, when you put color on top of color, with the Distress Oxides, they just blend in together, and so they kind of get lost. So that's why I like to use my Distress spray stains. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot for these areas that have color in them. So like I'm going to want to put some Distress spray stain on the pink, and then up in here in the greens, I'm going to do the yellow and some purple here, and then the blues in this area, just to give it a little pop of vibrancy. That's what I want to do. So I'll start with the pink, and I just do one at a time when I do this. So I'm going to put a little bit of spray pink down. See, you don't have, if you don't have these things, most people have oxides, but they might not have the spray stains, because I'm just now getting them. And I get like, I'm ridiculous. I get everything. I'm like Ginger. I just get everything. 2 of everything sometimes. It's stupid, really. But anyway, because I need to sell stuff off. Anyway, so I'm going to dip this in here and get, you can see that brought a lot more pop of color, and I want it to stay that way. I'm going to try to do this without heat setting in between, just to save time. So let me clean this off. And Ava came to join us, so if you hear her in the background, she decided to join Mom again in her stamp room. And then I'm going to put a little water on it. And this is the yellow, which I'm going to put over the spot where the green is, because I don't have green yet. So again, I'm just trying to make it a little bit more vibrant. And then we will do a little blue. And I'm going to make that blue pop a little bit. My thumbs and stuff are so dirty. And then, you know, this just, my conservative side, this just kills me wiping up ink. I can't stand to do that, but only for y'all. Okay, and I'm going to put a little bit of purple down. It's Seedless Preserves, I believe. And I'm going to try to get it right here where the purple is. And I don't really want it quite that much. And it's not really the right color of purple, but it's the only purple I have today. Okay? So that's where we're at so far. Give me just one moment to heat set that a little bit. And I'm sitting here thinking ahead. What do I do next? I forgot. It's so bad. I'm so bad. Okay, so let me dry this a little bit.
Do they?
I'm gonna just get some of that paint up or that ink up so that it will dry. Okay, I think my next step was to take my element type stamps here, and I'm sorry for the shaking, y'all. I don't know why I keep hitting it. I think it's because I have it plugged into a cord this time because I didn't want the battery to run out. So I'm going to use this Dina Wakley one first. I love Dina Wakley stuff. And it's going to look very stark. And if you go back and look at this one, you don't really see it on there. It's just kind of in the background. Well, that's because I did some white paint over it. So it's going to look very stark to start with. And maybe you'll like it that way and you want to leave it that way and you don't want to do white paint over it. This is just me. So I'll put a couple of these circles on here. Some of them more off the page. And I'll do one right there, okay? And next I'm going to take, okay, so somebody in the group sent me this. This is the best little thing, this little chamois cloth. Jackie Back, I think is how you say her last name. She sent me that. It's wonderful. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this alphabet, and I don't necessarily try to cover the whole thing. I just get some ink on it and just put a little bit here and there. I don't necessarily try to do the same letters. And maybe I'll turn some sideways just to get some alphabet on there. I hope I'm in the frame still, okay? And then I might take these numbers. Again, that's why my fingers are so inky, because I just do it this way. And you're like, oh, that's just too much black, but really it's not going to be there. It's going to be covered up. Just putting layers on. And then this is a little alphabet piece out of it. And I'm just going to put a couple of those in here. Let's see, let me start at this end. Okay. Okay, and that's pretty much it, okay, for the ink. So let me clean those real quick. Oops. Okay. So now I've got that done, and you could go with that. It's just a little starker than these are. These are very muted down. So my next step would be to take my stencil, and one other thing I didn't say that you'll need is you'll need a little sponge of some sort, however you like to put paint on. I'm going to move this all over the place. It's not going to stay in one spot, and I'll take some of my white craft paint, and I'll just put it on my glass mat here. It takes a good little bit of this because a lot of it soaks into the sponge, and I just put it on there. There's really no rhyme or reason. I don't try to like follow edges or anything. I just randomly will put some white on here to tone some of this color down, and you'll see in a minute when I lift this up how different it will look. Okay, let's see. And then I'll pick it up and I'm going to move it over here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put some white paint. If I mess up, you know, like if I smudge where I've already painted, it doesn't matter because it's still not going to show. This is just to kind of mute it down a little bit. You can see I put a good bit of paint out there, and I'm using it all. Probably have to get more. Okay. I still think it needs a little bit more right there. This particular stencil is kind of fragile. Okay, so these will dry, and as you can see as they dry, they don't really show up very much. They just took the color down a notch or two. That's really all I'm trying to do with it. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry for a second. And always clean these things off as soon as you are finished with them. I didn't want to get up and go to the sink, so I don't have a sink in my craft room, which my next craft room is going to have one. I've already told my husband that. One day when we move out of Georgia, we don't really like Georgia very much, we are going to have a bigger craft room with a sink in it because, it's really nice to have a sink. Okay, so going back to this, the next thing I'm going to do, and I just cleaned up that white paint and I didn't need to. Y'all see, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm going to take some white paint, and you can do this still while this is wet. It's not going to hurt anything. And what I do is I take this particular rubber brush. You don't have to use it. I don't know if you can see me over here. I'm just tamping a little bit of the white on here, and I just go through here and do little lines. It's kind of better if you just stay in one direction to start with and then go back and turn your cardstock and go the other way, because you can see that one I didn't do straight because I'd been doing upright. So this is just something, I don't know, I just came up with this. I just kind of liked this look, and I guess some of y'all did too. You can cross some of them. It's okay that the paint is kind of thick in places. It's going to take a minute for it to dry anyway because it is kind of thick. Oops, I did not want to do that. Okay, do that. Okay. And you don't have to cross them all, just some of them. And be sure to get around the edges a little bit too, because you want it to look like you just cut this piece of paper out of a bigger piece of paper, okay? So now we've got that on there. And the next thing I'm gonna do is, I'm going to take that wide paintbrush, and I like to just loosely brush some around the edges. And it's kind of an art. I'm not real good at it yet, but I just like to put some, even if it messes up the streaks that I just put on there, I don't care. I just like to distress it by putting a little bit in places around the edges. Just to make it look more distressed, I guess. Okay? Okay, this time I am done with the white paint. And the last step on this, if I could pick it up, look at all my paint on me, y'all, is I splatter the black paint onto it. I was talking to Ginger today. I was like, yeah, I like to splatter the black paint because it covers a multitude of sins. so if there's something I don't like on here, I can splatter it. Okay, so yes, I know my white is still wet. For time, I'm going with it, okay? But you can see how much the images that I stamped on here, they're in the background, but they're definitely not in the forefront. They're just definitely not really out there. They're just kind of in the background. So again, when I am flicking, I put, this is a stamp block. I put a little bit of black paint on it. A little bit of black goes a long way. And I take my watercolor painter, and I try to wet it down just a little bit with some water. I don't think I got quite enough in that one. You can't have too much because then it gets real sloppy. So I just try to do all four sides. So I'm just gonna, and I don't care if some big blobs get on there or anything. That does not matter to me. I'm gonna turn it. It's a little, I usually do this like I sit it on the floor and do it. This is a little harder for me to do it up this high. Again, I just need a little bit more water. Okay, that's probably gonna be too much, but okay, there we go. Okay, and that's it. Hold on, I'll pull out the other ones so you can compare them. They don't look exactly like, no two ever will, but that's art for you, right? I'll have to heat set those black spots on there. You can tell the difference here. I mean, I used the same colors, but this one definitely has more white on it to lighten it up a little bit more. So I guess it's just your preference, whatever you like. And I guess that's it. If you have any questions, just shout out at me and I'll try to help you with it. Thanks. I hope you'll have a good night.